Welcome, everyone. I'm Wes Warren. I'm here with Greg Stanley, and today we're going to talk about incentivizing your team. This is the cornerstone of what we believe is necessary in getting in control of your office and really getting the team motivated to grow. Greg, I know you've done this for years and worked on and tinkered with incentivizing the team. First, let's start. How important is this?
Okay, if you're trying to grow, trying to build an associate office, if you're facing stiff competition where you actually have to deliver more than a cheap entry price, you've got to really consumerize so people have a great experience. If you've got to shape a culture that's really inviting for future employees, if all this is on the table, if you got to do this, bonus will do it quicker than anything. Now, at Whitehall, we push the narrative of the two-step growth method. Number one, pick leaders. Number two, get a bonus and make leaders accountable to the bonus, meaning their job is to make sure that everybody's getting bonus by getting all the obstacles out of the way, which unfortunately often includes the doctor themselves. But the leader's job is to make bonus viable, make it so today we can qualify for today's bonus number. Nothing's more important than that. Now, with that thought in mind, it's going to pervade all of her decisions. For example, she's got to do some interviews, some hiring. Well, she's got to say to herself, how's this person going to fit into the bonus rotation of our office, of our system? Is she going to be a positive or negative? In other words, everything is centered around the bonus. In fact, if you think a bonus is optional in today's practice, it's probably a sign of more than anything of living in the past. We only have a good run in practices without bonus for the first maybe 1 to 3 months after raising our pay to staff. In other words, they get a big raise, and for a while they're smiling and dialing and it's all working. But bonus to Whitehall is more important than anything else. If you were to be able to forget, like lose your brain because you're too old and busted to function, if you forgot to show up and do dentistry, it wouldn't be as big a crime as forgetting to get the bonus in place and getting everything tuned up. So Wes, since we're talking about this, why don't you weigh in on some bonus experience you've had or some places you see us going wrong?
Well, I want to comment a little bit on what practices that need bonus versus don't. So there are scenarios where the doctor's completely full, it's log jammed, the practice is booked out for months. In hygiene, the doctor's booked out 3 or 4 weeks. The doctor's fully engaged with the patient, where a bonus, I see those practices get away with really not doing bonus, and it's fine, but there's no growth on the table. Like I said, they're completely capacity blocked. They're not going to add doctors. And usually they already have a good core of a team. And yeah, those offices can just coast and not do bonus. But everybody else, if you're looking to grow, you're looking to add an associate, or you've got a bunch of new team members. And if you're dealing with what a lot of doctors, I would say, complain about, I don't know how true this is, but they do complain about a new generation who is not quite as motivatable as accountable as past employees, where they have trouble getting them to show up on time, getting them to really engage. Bonus is fundamental for kind of this new crop of employees that we've seen basically since COVID. There's just a different quality of employee. So that's what I would comment on as far as what we talked about so far, Greg. And without it, we've really struggled. I do trainings all day, every day, basically, as a coach. And I know offices that bonus is working and bonuses are not, based on the engagement of the employee that I'm talking to. I'll have people that just kind of yawn and when's this over? And I finish up and then I'll kind of quiz them down on what they learned, and they can't even spit it back to me. I already know that that office is not on bonus, or certainly the bonus is not working. And
You know,
then versus
yeah,
versus the opposite, where the person's taking notes and really engaged and wants to really put this stuff to use and asking me questions of, uh, and it's totally different scenario. And that's what you need in your office, and you should not rest until you get that, and you get that through bonus. But sometimes you got to tinker with the bonus. Sometimes it's not just set the bonus up, set it and forget it. You have to tinker with it. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, I hope so.
yeah, it's working from both sides. In other words, on one side, the doctor is fearful of being cheated through bonus. Somebody will figure out a way to somehow turn bonus into big money without the doctor getting their cut, so to speak, without really changing things. On the other side, staff are immediately unmotivated, turned off by a doctor putting too many protections in place. Like, okay, we're going to average a production over 3 or 6 months, and then you get bonus. Staff know that'll never happen. In fact, if we could, we'd probably put out a bonus every hour or two. If we could, we'd have the doctor carrying a change belt like a carnival guy, handing out bonus every hour. But we can't do that. Our
Right.
clients won't let us, unfortunately. So we are struggling between this constantly. We want the bonus to work, so we can't stretch it out, put too many protections in place. We don't want the doctor cheated, because real quick he'll shut down or she'll shut down, and then the systems it goes quiet. So a couple of things. One of the thought process that we've encountered in introducing bonus is some doctors just are honest with us and say it right out. Man, these people have stuck me for more money every time. Every 2 or 3 months we have a good month. The practice hits a new record. They're in here wanting a raise. I don't want to give a bonus to people that have been shaking me down for more money. You see, Greg, I would do bonus, but I'm already paying too much. I know that's because you didn't have bonus. They just sat and got more bonus and more. I mean, they got more pay, and you got nothing in return, except the privilege of having them show up every day if you're lucky. So when you get the bonus working, what you start to see is they make more money. We have a good day, a good week, whatever it happens to be. And when we have a good day or a good week, you've already made money. So a bonus makes sure that the doctor comes out as well as the staff. You're going to be paying about 3.75% of your gross in bonus to everyone. That's leaders, staff, everybody, if you're following our program. And before we're done, we're going to lay it all out. So please don't sit and think, why don't these guys get to the numbers? Our problem is doctors being ready to abandon bonus like it was a passing thought, when in fact it is what makes growth, stability, teamwork. It's what puts it all there. This idea that they're already making too much, that's because bonus wasn't there. We're going to make that change, and some of you will find that all your numbers, like a high performance racing motor, start to balance out. They start to sound smooth at high RPMs. In other words, when we can get staff hitting on all cylinders, getting everybody pulling together for bonus, you're going to say, yeah. And you know what you're going to find, which is just nothing short of shocking and unexpected, and that is you're going to enjoy being there more with all these staff pulling together as a team, hitting on all cylinders. You watch them in there just charming patients and keeping associates, walking that straight line, doing all that. And you're going, wow, why didn't they do this sooner? It's simple. They hadn't figured out yet, or you hadn't made it plain yet, what's in it for them. And you know what's great about it? You want to make another 2 or 300,000. We get that. They're pretty happy if they can make another $3 to $5 in hourly equivalent, so to speak. So if this is done right, now we've come up with another bonus system years ago, and it proved to only be effective in single doctor offices. It was not scalable to multi-doctor, multi-office, all of this kind of stuff. What Wes and I are going to cover today is scalable bonus. And to be honest, it's probably, bonus goes over a continuum of time and growth. We want to keep it the same, meaning staff are getting about the same percentage of the practice when we're doing 100,000 or 500,000. And yeah, we're back to that thing. Well, am I getting hurt? Are they getting disincentivized? We'll talk about that. So we wanted to take this time, and I think we have, to let you know, to really communicate from our heart that without bonus, we as coaches tend to fail, leaders fail, and ultimately you as doctors end up with a brand new team of untrained people because the other people finally just felt like they weren't going anywhere, and nor was their pay going anywhere. And I know, and you stand there and say, well, I'll pay you more if we grow. It doesn't work quite like that. In fact, when you grow, you probably saw that your overhead had already gone up, and giving them more money probably is the last thing you'd want to do. So let's get into this. There's two kinds of bonuses. One is a team bonus, and many of you have tried a team bonus. Please know that Wes and I have worked in more offices that have failed with a team bonus than probably any two people on the planet. It must be managed exactly right. And we're going to tell you how to do that. And the other bonus, we sometimes call them individual, incremental, eat what you kill. We've got all these different names, but a staff person does something somewhat heroic. We make sure they get a little something for that. Greg, you're saying, wait, what's heroic in dentistry? They show up, they get paid. What do I have to give more money? Well, they sell a person on a $20,000 case that patient was about to walk out the door and check with 3 other dentists. They called people that have been out of the practice for 3 years and somehow talk them into coming back. That's heroic.
Right.
And it also wears staff down. Even with bonus, they tend to wear down with certain patient encounters, even angry patients, and so forth. So we'll talk about that too. Let's start with team bonus. Okay. It's all about today. Team bonus is not a 3-month idea where you smooth it out so you can't get hurt. It's about today. And when it's about today, there's always that risk. They'll sandbag tomorrow to make it so they can get a bonus today.
Right.
Now that's where your leader works for you and them. Yeah, she's to make sure they get bonus, but she's also there to make sure you don't get cheated. You see her overseeing people and making sure they don't schedule something for tomorrow that could easily go in this afternoon. All right, so she's kind of your bonus channel captain, keeping it all clear. With team bonus being about today, what we're looking for is to augment the existing production that's on the book. Meaning, let's say we've got 10,000 on the book.
Okay.
And people are coming in getting hygienists and assistants are getting a chance to look at previously diagnosed dentistry. If they can get that person to stay and get it done today, that becomes bonusable for the team. In other words, let's say we're at 10,000 on the book and they get to 12 or 13, we're going to give everybody a draw from the fishbowl. And it's a bowl filled with various poker chips or ping pong balls or aquarium rocks, whatever you want to do it. But there's very few of the real big numbers like $100 or $200. And there's a lot of 20s and 25 and 30 and 50 and so forth. So everybody gets kind of excited. We're going to get a draw today from the fishbowl because we pulled together same day. Now, if you have 10,000 on the books in a normal practice that we coach, it is not uncommon. It is the norm to see another 10,000 in same day potential, meaning you got people coming through hygiene with previously diagnosed, got emergencies showing up, getting them to stay and get their 2 crowns done. In other words, staff get this going. And you might be asking, well, Greg, are you going to teach them how to get the bonus? Oh, we can, but you'll be surprised when they know that you want to pay it, you're willing to pay it, you won't try to make them feel bad if they get it. They figure it out so fast, it makes your head spin. They are innovators and resourceful. They'll figure out how to juggle patients and keep people who are already on the schedule happy, even if they had to stay an extra 20 minutes so you could work something in same day. They'll figure that out because there's going to be $20 in it for everybody, whatever. Don't worry about that. They'll figure it out. Some offices we give out Starbucks or Olive Garden or some kind of gift card for $10, $15 if people are made to wait that had an appointment so we could work in a same day. So that's not been a problem. A lot of people whose time is rather flexible see that as a double win. I got to see the dentist day and I got a Starbucks card for $15. So the team bonus is about today, going over today's previously scheduled work. If it was 10,000, typically it's 15 to 20%.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, just to be clear, it's 15 to 20% is usually where you set the target before they draw. So anybody that's wants to set this up, we'll send you the fishbowl grid, how to make a bucket of poker chips or whatever it is, and the dollar amounts that should be in there, so that y'all can do this. There's a couple things that I've learned about this that's very important. One is you've got to draw every morning. In other words, so you look at yesterday, did we hit the number? The next morning, everybody draws what you want. And if you hit it, everybody draws. You want to create a little excitement around it. And you got to promote it, and you got to clap and make it fun. And the leader needs to do that. That's kind of their job. But the idea is to kind of change the culture a little bit and make things a little bit more exciting. That's the whole idea of the draw. And there's offices that put different things in there that isn't just money. So it could be night out, and they, gift cards and things like that, so that to make things, spice things up a little bit. So that's one thing. Number two, I'll tell you, in tracking offices, before we get this started, we always want to see what's the norm. And we'll have offices start at 10. I'll tell you, a lot of offices actually go backwards. They don't grow during the day. They go from 10 to 9. And so just holding the line on a day is actually a victory, let alone, getting to 11,500 or 12,000. So you gotta understand that when they do hit 12,000, you're gonna pay out, but a lot of times they're gonna hit 11 or 10,500, and you don't have to pay out for that motivation. You got to understand that this really works well. And the other thing we do know is it's got to be daily. We've done the monthly thing. You got to try to motivate them and get them excited about each day. And you got to set the goal at a level that everybody believes, hey, we got a really good shot at hitting this every day. And that's how you kind of spark this thing to life.
You can't be the weak link in this chain, doctor. In other words, if they start seeing that you won't take somebody and work them into your schedule, if you're running late talking because that's just who you are and it's your practice, you'll start to see them, like Wes talked about, disengaging and kind of going through the motions again. So it's an exciting concept. In fact, in offices where this is really working, it's fun to be in these meetings that he's talking about, where everybody's pumped that they're getting to draw from this bucket. Now, the way we keep track of it, because that's another thing that tends to pull us off course, they need their own individual bonus tracker, as you're going to see. So if they hit fishbowl bonus, it's written on their tracker. The leader initials it, and you, the doctor, either initials it or at least examine it. So we don't, occasionally we'll get people, for example, go, hey, I just remembered 2 weeks ago, we got a same day in and we didn't put it down. We don't go for that. You got to do it, like was said, same day. So today we write out our bonus. Tomorrow morning we celebrate it. You draw from the bucket. There you go. So that's team bonus. Typically, when you consider, if you consider all the chips that are in the bucket, divide by the increments or the total of the chips, it'll give you what the average draw is. You just multiply it times 10 or 15, whatever the number of staff is. Now, you can also have a double draw, meaning if you were at 10 and draw was to be at 13, if they hit 15 or 16, you might have it in your bonus to have another draw.
Right. The other thing to keep in mind is how often should they be hitting this is another question we get a lot. And the great part about this bonus is you can change the goal. Every day is a new day and you get to decide what the bonus is for that day. And so if you're finding that they're hitting it too easy, yeah, you gotta raise it up. What you're looking for is around a third of the time, 40% of the time, a little less than half is what you should try to make sure happens. And sometimes to fan the flames or fan the flames of belief, you got to set the goal a little lower in the beginning so that they start getting pumped up and they start getting the idea that, hey, this could be good, and then slowly kind of raise the bar. So there's no question, maybe the first month that you'll be a little bit more lenient and set goals that they'll hit. They'll hit it a few times, get the blood pumping for bonus a little bit, and let the greed gland secrete, so they really start to feel motivated. And then you can start raising the goal up and maybe go to 2,500 above, 25% above. But there'll be a number that you'll see in your practice. It might be 25%, it might be 15% above where you start the day. And that'll kind of get you into that around a third of the time they're hitting bonus.
So what this leaves us working in positive territory, meaning because of bonus, we're going to go 2,500 over the 10,000. We're going to go over. Without that, we tend to come in probably that much under what was scheduled. And the motivator is that the doctor's angry and chewing people out. And that's a kind of a motivator, but not very good. And so we're going to get into positive territory and make this a place you want to be as a doctor and as a staff person.
And once you get this set up, you should see the change in the team. Like I was talking about, when I do these meetings and try to train people, and doctor, you try to train people and you get the, is anybody home kind of look, when you start to see the team wake up, that's when this is working. If you run into problems where, hey, I'm not seeing the change, usually there's something in the practice that makes them believe it's not possible, or certainly not possible on a consistent basis. Now, Greg, you pointed out, it could be the doctor, it could be you yourself, but it could be another team member. It could be a system that's in place. It could be something that needs to be identified. Usually the team will be more than willing to point it out once or twice, or 3 times, but eventually they give up on it. And so you got to watch out for that doesn't happen, that you run into a roadblock that just doesn't get addressed.
Yeah, these are these kind of just words we're exchanging here, but in truth, it has the potential to double the practice with no marketing, no additional staff. Well, in most cases, no additional staff, no additional anything, except you might have to get a little faster, but the normal flow through your practice actually is trying to reward you. It wants to reward you with whatever's on the schedule in the unscheduled column. So 10,000 on the book, there's probably another 10,000 in unscheduled. When I say probably, we haven't met the exception to that yet. We just can't deliver. Maybe we're 2 staff short or whatever it happens to be. So good. Now, team bonus, fishbowl, that's one concept. It's the only thing we do as a team. The other is what we call eat what you kill, incremental individual bonuses. The idea being whoever takes an inbound phone call from a prospective new patient, and this is life and death if you're advertising, you're marketing. I don't care if you're on the internet or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
The person that can reach out and get that person to actually show up, typically we pay them $5. The exception being in practices where we have anywhere from 2 to 500. I know it sounds like a lot, but we do that occasionally. 2 to 500 new patients a month, we might not pay $5, might pay 3 or 2 or 1 even. So the idea here is that whoever picks up that phone knows that if I can get this person to show up, not put their name on the schedule alone, but actually show up, I get $5. I'm gonna take 4 of these or 5 of these today. So in addition to my fishbowl, I'm gonna pick up $20 or $25 from what I personally do. Now you might say, well, Greg, what about the idea of fairness? This person took the call. Why should she get money and not everybody else? Because you're not in network all the time. These people come from marketing. They're skeptical, reserved, skittish, ready to hang up and call another office. If she can engage, that's a big word. When bonus gets people to engage, it changes your life. So she engages, gets them to show up, talks them through the fact that, no, don't worry, we're not in your network, but we do this, we do that, we do this, way offsets everything. In other words, she's motivated. You know, Wes, when I call someplace for services of any kind, for myself, for my car, for whatever it is, when I can tell when that person is getting something out of that little bonus, sometimes they call it a spiff or something, man, they are relentless. They're trying to understand me and listen and connect. And that's what you get with a phone bonus. Now, this is again, somebody will say, well, that's not fair because she sits closer to the phone by 3 inches than somebody else. Well, maybe that's true, but she's not going to be available all the time. She's talking to a patient or she's collecting money or something like that. You kind of have to get over that and let your leader work out a way to make it as fair as possible. There's no way to perfect fairness. You have to get over that.
Yeah, and you should, as you introduce these bonuses, let them know, look, this is not meant to be the most fair bonus system in the world. We do our best in fairness, but I know it's not completely fair, but this is how we're going to lay it out. So you do have to start off by letting them know that. And then also make sure that you let them know, hey, we're going to try this for a couple months, maybe just 1 month. So when you introduce a bonus, always let them know that, hey, we're going to try this. If it works, we'll continue doing it. If it doesn't really work, we might end it, so that you're kind of free to make the modifications that you need, because a lot of times you do need to make little adjustments to these bonuses. So phone bonus, key, especially.
I know, Doctor, I know that you probably have a couple of staff that you know in your heart are overpaid, not just for what they accomplish or don't accomplish in a day, but in the marketplace. They're kind of overpaid. The thought of giving them more bonus, don't worry. This bonus has a way in time of evening all that out. You get enough in return, but they're not overpaid. So phone bonus is huge. In fact, my suggestion is do not spend money marketing. I don't care if it's pay-per-click or postcards or whatever you do. Don't spend money unless you have an incentivized and trained person picking up the phone. believe me, she'll seek training if she's bonus. If she's not bonus, she really doesn't care. Oh, that was a bad patient. That was another bad patient. In other words, they're not willing to develop people.
Can I make a comment? I've had many offices where I've tried to train team members on learning some basic phone scripts. And without a bonus, I train them, I say, okay, next week, I want you to recite it back to me. So you got to learn, what I just taught you. And here's the script in writing, real simple. It's about 3 lines. I mean, nothing, 3 sentences they got to learn. And for weeks, they'll come just not knowing a word of it and fumbling through it weeks and weeks and weeks like that, to the point where it's not going to happen. I just know that they'll never, ever learn it. Put the bonus in place, all of a sudden, they'll learn it. It's that simple. So it is critical.
All right, let's talk about another position in the practice. Assistants, getting people to stay and get work done today, which means they have to be able to sell the patient on it. Number 2, they've got to be able to work it into the schedule because it's not scheduled. Typically, we're going to give $10 to the staff person, the assistant, that gets people to stay. Doctor came in, there was a new patient, found this, this, and this, and he or she, the doctor, leaves, and the assistant says, that's kind of important. Would you like to get that done while you're here? We can work it in. We give that person $10.
Right.
Another $5 to the person that stands chairside, because it's not uncommon for the person that actually stands chairside to push back and say, I don't have time to do that. Doctor doesn't have time. We can't do that. So you got one person over here, assistant, selling, another person, in effect, blocking. We're all on the same team. We don't want, offense and defense here. So, and by the way, doctor, you've got to always be on the offense. You can't be blocking. No, I can't do that. I can't do that. And yeah, I know sometimes you can't, but it's got to be rare. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So we're going to pay $10 for the person to get somebody to stay to get work done. And you can put thresholds on this. Typically it's Crown or above, $500 or above, whatever it happens to be. $5 for the person that actually stands chairside. If it's the same person, it's $15. Yeah.
Some offices, Greg, it's just if it's restorative, meaning no extractions. You got to convince the patient to save the tooth, and then they'll pay the money out. So it's kind of depends on the office and how much that means to you, filling in those last little spots, because that's where the gravy is. So an office, the overhead's already built into the office. You're paying the team, you're paying for the office, you're paying for the lights, everything. There's a variable of labs and supplies, and that runs together around 15-16%. But when you fill in that last little bit, we're talking about 70-80% net, 85% net when you fill in those gaps. So it's highly profitable when you have every spot in your schedule filled, when normally when you look through the day there's a few holes. Those last few holes is where the real net is.
Right.
So getting this team fully motivated to fill it in is highly profitable. Highly profitable.
Let's go one step farther. With hygiene, it's kind of a different ballgame. If a hygienist, we do very well, especially with associates who have a tendency to not be able to give away gold jewelry. I mean, they can struggle with presenting. A lot of work with associates for Wes and I is probably some of the most rewarding things we do. So if we can get staff that can sell that dentistry, they find it, yeah, the associate has to diagnose it, but it's already been teed up for them. They find the dentistry, and when the associate says, yeah, there's 2 crowns here, I would get done right away. Boom, the patient says, well, okay. Or even if they don't, the associate leaves and they talk about it with the hygienist, whatever. If the hygienist gets them to stay, we'll typically give her $15 and an assistant $5 to stand chairside. Also, if the assistant can get a patient with previously diagnosed dentistry in their mouth, because she's the one that's going to see it coming back over and over. If she can get the person to stay without being seen as badgering them, typically when they leave and come back, we'll go for it one more time. After that, we're going to probably leave a lot of it with the patient. But if she can get a person, now this is a fine point, if she can get a person to schedule that.
You're talking hygienists. So
yes, she's been carrying it. This patient's been carrying this for a year and a half in their mouth, and she can get them to do it, but the person can't stay and get it done today, and they schedule it. We'll typically pay that hygienist for pitching dentistry. And this is one of the fine points, because so many offices think that incentivizing a hygienist is giving them some bonus for selling periodontal treatment to marketing patients that come in not even expecting it, when in truth, that's probably so negative to the person. It's like the last thing you want to do. So let's incentivize staff to sell dentistry. As to perio, that's a topic for another presentation.
So when you say staff, you mean hygienists too. You want to get the hygienist motivated. And so if they find work that's been just sitting there, and you can't work it in, a lot of offices will still pay the $15, even though it gets scheduled out, as long as it's crown or higher. In other words, so not the smaller stuff, but as long as it's kind of at the crown level or higher, they'll pay that $15 no matter what. So yeah, that's hygiene, and that's same day service.
It's funny, Wes. I said there's two sides to this. One side is the staff not trusting that the dentist will really follow through and pay the bonus. The other side is the doctor fearing that somehow there'll be so much leeway the staff will cheat him.
Yeah.
Like I said, we use the leader to work that all out. Now we've done bonuses, but the thing you have to watch for, the old saying, the devil's in the details. Here's one you got to watch for. Staff person comes to you and said the hygienist and the assistant were kind of a tag team and got this sold, it's a pretty nice case. And they both want bonus, or they want a split bonus. I don't care what it is. And it's really outside the guidelines.
Right.
We would at Whitehall say yes to that. It's okay, but it's not a new system. It's not a new way we're going to go forward. You must keep clear on that, because pretty soon everybody's splitting everything and nobody's doing anything.
As soon as you collectivize these bonuses, they almost just stop working immediately.
That's the old pitch. This bonus is confusing. It's not fair. Let's just all get a raise and we'll work real hard and you keep your bonus. Well, you'll pay a raise. They'll be happy for 60 days if you're lucky. And then, like was said, they're no longer engaging. You can hear the calls come in, which turn out, one after another, turns out to be a bad caller. That person, we don't take their insurance, or that person was a shopper. That person was bad. And that's how you know they're not engaging. So that's bonus.
That's the bonus system. And those are the elements. It's quite simple, quite straightforward. It's 3 bonuses, like you said. So there's the fishbowl, that's the daily goal bonus. There's the phone bonus for the front desk. And then there's the back office same day service bonus for hygienists and assistants.
There's one other bonus, and that would be for an associate. And there is no bonus for the associate. It's a percentage you're paying them to work there. They don't get little bonuses. They're already incentivized by the terms under which you employed them.
I will say that what you quoted, Greg, the 3 3/4% is including leadership bonus. Leadership bonus is you pick a target in the practice. Let's say you're doing 100,000 a month on average. and you set the leadership bonus at 115,000. Usually it's about 10-15% above where the practice is currently. And you tell the leader, I will pay you 1% of the entire practice if you hit this goal at the end of the month in collections. She hits the goal, she gets, it would be $1,150 if it was 15%. So on 100,000, you'd have to hit 115. That's what she would get. And then you have divisional leaders. In smaller offices, usually we just go with one leader. But as the office gets big, you're going to have a back office leader and a front desk leader. And we give those people 0.5%. Sometimes
Each.
it's a third of a percent if it's a bigger practice. But somewhere in that range, 0.5% each for what they do. And a super large practice, you end up needing to do that for hygiene, having a leader over hygiene. And when you add that all up, yes, you get into that 3.5% or 3.75% that Greg's talking about.
Can I add something else? And that is that, again, in an effort to protect yourself from bonus abuse, there will be a temptation to say, okay, this bonus is subject to profitability. Well, staff could probably be okay with that until you order a CRAC with 2 milling machines, set up 2 more operatories, and have a
Right.
build out of some kind, and they don't bonus for a year. And all of a sudden, nobody's engaged, nobody's working. So what was said about paying on gross, that's all staff can understand and to any degree control.
So the checks and balances of this bonus system that we're talking about is you've got, obviously the fishbowl bonus is set on production, not collections, because you can't, obviously, all that stuff's got to get billed out. The balance is that you've got a leadership team that's paid only on collections. And that's the balancing act. And it's the collections above your baseline where you're at currently. So they're motivated for more. And so that's kind of the checks and balances of the system. So that's kind of how that works.
Yeah, you know, bonus is actually, it actually qualifies as a strategy in practice. And if it could be said that, you know, there's a strategy of building hygiene to build general dentistry, you know, more hygiene means more dentistry. Trust me, a well-run bonus means more and more practice. It works. So we'll occasionally weigh in to update this, talk a little more about it, and you can certainly talk to your coaches about it. But yeah, it's about bonus.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.